Hey guys, hang around to the end of this episode and see how you can win this rad RC car from our friends at Protex. Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. So obviously this channel is primarily about this little guy, building the Citadel XL and going racing. And now and again my Sora gets a bit of a look in and we did a bit of intercooler stuff with there and even ran it down a quarter mile really poorly the other day with fuel cuts and all sorts of stuff. But I realized I haven't really spoken about the car I spend the most time in, which is this guy. So this is my daily, a 2005 Subaru Liberty GT, and I think it is quite possibly one of the best daily drivers in the world. You may recognize this shape as the same shape as Super Gramps from the Mighty Car Mods videos. Obviously Super Gramps was a much more special car. It had the manual gearbox, the flat six with the turbo. It was a pretty wild car. This is completely stock. So a lot of people call these the Gentleman's WRX because it is pretty much the same thing, just a longer wheelbase, but same engine, same gearbox, same drivetrain, all that sort of stuff, just more family friendly. This as a wagon, I think is probably the best looking wagon to come out of Japan. I know people say stage years, but honestly, I reckon this is better looking. I think it is, this shape and this generation looks so cool. And I always wanted one. When it came time to sort of take the Sora off the road and make it a weekender, I had the Impreza for a little while, but I said to my wife, I always wanted one of these, and I'm so stoked I got this. I had a few teething issues when I got it. Maybe I'll get into that later. But now it's a ripper car. It's got a couple of little issues that are standard Subaru things, and no, it's not the head gasket. People who make head gasket jokes about Subarus are the same people that make jokes about the new Supra being a BMW. It's not clever, it's not funny, you're a dickhead. Bruh. All right, so let me show you around my super filthy car and show you why I think it's pretty bloody good. Okay, we're gonna go handheld here, so bear with me. But inside this had the GT leather interior. Not bad, the seats are fairly comfy, although the seating position is a bit high. Came standard with a Momo steering wheel and a Momo gear knob. Now this is an automatic, and I know a lot of you are gonna go, automatic, and I'll tell you why. The simple fact is that I use my wife's car to tow the Nug. And when I do that, she needs something to drive. She can't drive manual because she's got a buggered ankle, so I need an automatic. So happens it's really good for driving in traffic to work, so for a daily, I'm not that angry about it. I've got two manual cars I can go and play with. So little upgrades I've done in this car is the Kenwood head unit, which is a full touchscreen unit, and it does integrate with the Macintosh stereo system. So this came with a premium stereo system with bloody like 1, 2, 3 speakers, 4 speakers in the front, which is ridiculous. And the same in the back, and it came with a subwoofer and all that sort of stuff, and under this seat is a big amplifier that manages all that. Pretty wild. So bar the sub doesn't work, but I got a custom loom made for this. It does plug into the amp, and which means the whole Macintosh system works really good. And I put in a reverse camera because I think reverse camera is fantastic. Got a little cubby hole there for my sunglasses. This car also came with the sports gauges, which are pretty cool. So it's got all the red gauges with all the, I don't know, just looks really cool. I do have a permanent airbag light, Subaru things. Apparently there's a connection under the seat, and it just has to lose vision of that connection for like a split second, and then your airbag light's on forever until you go to Subaru and get it fixed. It's on the cards. In the back, I am very much a dad. We have my daughter's car seat and my son's car seat, and there's plenty of room in there for them, which is great. And the boot still has a ton of room for car parts and goodies and all of that sort of stuff. This part was missing. This is a little shade thing that blocks off view into the boot, and that was missing, and I got that from a guy in Sydney, so thanks to that champ. And yeah, it's very spacious in the back here. There's as much space as my wife's Volvo SUV, so I'm pretty happy with that. So the only mods to speak of really are just, it's got aftermarket mufflers, which has given a little bit of a rumble, but not the full-on WRX sound, which is quite nice. And in the front, I got rid of the old man Subaru grille and got hold of this guy. And it's actually a genuine carbon fiber grille, and then I made up the badge on my 3D printer and my vinyl cutter. But yeah, it's proper lightweight carbon fiber, and it looks so much better than the stock old man chrome grille, so I'm pretty stoked with that. So this thing isn't blisteringly fast, obviously, but this little engine puts out about 240 horsepower or 180 kilowatt for you new school people. And I reckon that is pretty good. My wife loves driving it. It's pretty zippy, she reckons. But I reckon for a everyday car where I can have the kids in the back, I've got a wagon, it actually handles really well for a wagon, and it's got the speed and all that sort of stuff. It's probably, I reckon, the best daily you can get. I paid 12 grand for this. I reckon that's pretty good. Had 187,000 on the clock. It's got about 220 on it now or something. It's not bad. Good value for money. And bar a couple of issues I had straight at the start, which we figured out, I've had no problems with this car. It's been fantastic. Oxy sensor, and that's about it. And the brakes are getting a bit shagged, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So today my mate Birdie has actually got a tool chest for me. It's a really nice metal one with pull-out drawers for the spanners and stuff, and he said he wants me to have it, which is really kind of him. I told him you should sell it on Marketplace. He goes, nah, no, you have it. So legend of a guy. Thank you, Birdie. And we're going to take the Subi to go and get it. So I'm going to whip the kids' seats out and I'll show you how versatile this thing is. Alrighty. For some reason, even though I've been driving an auto for ages, I still check the gear stick. I'm an idiot. So something I forgot to mention in the features of this car is the gigantic sunroof. So it's a dual sunroof. It's got like a little front section that tilts and then the big section on the back that opens up into the back of the wagon. So it is a massive sunroof and I freaking love it. It's great. Although the wind noise on the freeway is a bit much, so I don't usually have it open on the freeways. Unlike the Sora, where I pretty much have that sunroof open 24 hours. Like if I'm driving that car, the sunroof is open. So as we tackle the speed humps on my street here, talk about something that kind of shocked me when I got this car is how good the steering is. I'm not a drag racer or anything like that, so having power is fun, but steering for me is where it's at. I must admit, I love my Sora, but the steering feels a bit dead and it just feels a little bit disconnected. It feels like a lot of modern cars to me. It's just a little bit wishy-washy. I find the steering on this, it's not heavy, but it does give you feedback when you start to push it through the turns. And it's very pointy, like it just feels like it's doing something. It's obviously a very similar front end to the WRX, I'd say, and it just has that kind of pointiness to it, which I really love. And yeah, surprising out of a big car. Obviously the suspension's pretty floppy on this, but when you give it some round of turns, like at least the front end is doing the right thing. It could do with some big sway bars and suspension, but I'm not going to do that to my daily wagon. That's a silly thing to do. So even though I am not a fan of automatic gearboxes, the box on this is actually really good. It's a 5-speed, like it's an old school one. It's not like one of these new CVTs or the 10-speed craziness. It's just a no frills kind of 5-speed auto, and it's actually a really good box. It does what's written on the packet, and even though yes, I would rather have a 5 or a 6-speed manual in this, I think this is a good option considering I need an auto. It also has like a Tiptronic, like a manual sort of mode, so you can do it through the stick, or it does have buttons on the steering wheel here for up and down, and they're buttons, not paddles, which is kind of weird. I'm guessing it was like the start of them dipping into the Tiptronic style gearboxes, and it's kind of funny. I found the buttons on this steering wheel do bugger all, but the shifter actually does, even though it is extremely laggy. But if you know that you've got like a second delay, you can kind of punch the gear a little bit earlier, and I'm kind of used to it now. And then driving through the mountains, the box kind of does a really good job of going through the mountains and picking the right gear. But you know, if I am feeling sporty, I chuck it over, and once you kind of get used to that bit of lag, you can bang it through the gears, and it's pretty fun. You can use it to slow it down. It's not bad actually. It's for an auto. Once again, I'd still rather a 6-speed STI transmission in this thing. It'd be freaking awesome, but it's not meant to be. Now, it's all not sunshine lollipops in this car. There are some things I definitely don't like. The seating position is weird. Number one, it doesn't have a telescopic steering wheel to bring it in and out. I hate that. All cars should have that. Secondly, the seat's really high. Like, you look how close I am to the roof, and I'm not a tall dude. I'm only 5'10", and this is as low as the seat goes. And I've never had this problem with the Subaru before. Like, I've had a a GT Forester, I had the Impreza, my dad's had a bunch of Subarus, and I've never sat in a Subi with the seat all the way down and gone, I'm still too high. So I really don't understand what the mentality was behind the seat design. It really annoys me, and that's the problem with the steering wheel as well, is if I'd laid the seat back further or moved the seat further back so I had some more clearance and felt a bit lower, the steering wheel would be too far away. So if I had a telescopic steering wheel, or if the seat was lower, it would all be fixed. But because it doesn't have either of those, I can't get the seat right. And it's not bad now because I've been driving this car sort of non-stop recently. But if I just get out of my wife's Volvo where it has a million seating positions, or if I drive the Sora where the seat is crazy low because I've got super seats in there, I find it really disconcerting how high I am. Like, I've got mad vision, but I have to look, like literally look down to see my gauges, which is bizarre. You know, like every other car, my gauges are kind of just below eye level. So that's number one, the first thing I don't like about this car. Now, the second thing I don't like about this car, and I'm going to try not to get T-boned in this intersection while I talk to you about this, is the dashboard. So the dashboard's great. It looks fantastic. It does dashboard things. However, they fall apart. So this is a 4th gen Liberty, and this is one of, every car has its problems with it. This is the big one with the 4th gen, is these cracked dashboards, and I'll show you a bit of footage of that in a second. They get sticky, some of them, like it's like the rubber starts to break apart. And oh, hang on, let's have a go at this hill. Yeah, Subi power. Oh, you see that lag on the gear shift? Anyway, it just, like, they start cracking, and there's very few 4th gen Liberties that don't have this happen to the dashboard. And Subaru did actually warranty a lot of them back in the early days, but obviously now it's a 17-year-old car. There's no way we're going to get a warranty on it. And I've been to the wreckers, I've got alerts on Jollies and Pick Apart for every time a 4th gen Liberty comes in to go and see if the dashboard's okay, and either somebody's beat me to it by literally 5 minutes, or it's cracked to pieces and it's useless. So it's a bit of a bummer because there's not much I can really do about it. And I could put a dash mat on it, but I'm not a 70-year-old man. I freaking hate dash mats. Or I could fill it and paint it and stuff like that. But the problem is there's an airbag in both sides. So, like, obviously this one's in the steering wheel, but that one has an airbag on it. So you can't, like, fill and cover it or get it recovered in vinyl because the airbag needs to come out. Although the airbag light's on, so maybe it won't come out. Who freaking knows? She's so peppy for a daily. I love it. So we're at Bertie's house. Hey Bertie.
Hey.
My member, he came and gave me a hand when we were getting the XL ready for Bathurst, and I was struggling to get that engine done. You came and cleaned and helped me put the engine in. It was a massive help because that was a struggle. But we're here in his brand new shed, and I'm a little bit jealous about how shiny and new and exciting this is. Bertie's into woodwork, as you can see, and this is pretty cool, man. I like this. This is a good place. This is a good man shed. Like, everything's set up so nicely. Look at this amazingness. And God, I've got to do stuff like this. That's great. And DeWalt stuff. I do have a couple of DeWalt things, but yeah, what are you making here?
So this is a bedside table for a mate of mine. Some mountain ash there.
Beautiful. That's going to come up pretty nice. And you do pretty much everything. Did you buy these how they are, or did you trim them down? Or?
Yeah, so they came rough cut, and then then I got to plane it down and sand it down and cut it up.
Awesome. Oh, it's exciting. Bertie actually made us a what do you call it? Chopping board. Yeah, chopping board as a housewarming present, and it's now my new favourite thing in the kitchen. It's awesome. I felt really bad chopping on it the first time, so it's too nice.
It is like that.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful piece of wood. It's great. So it's really exciting. Like, I just love how well set up this is, and it puts me to shame. Like, my drill bits do not look like that, and I need to make things look like that. This is what I need the Nug shed to look like eventually, once I get the hole in the wall and sort stuff out, and then that'll be metal and car parts instead of wood, but you get the idea.
Yep.
Very cool. And you've graciously donated these awesome cabinets, because Bertie's now done new drawers here, all set up, so he doesn't need these old tool chests anymore, so I'm stoked to take them home. I was saying I might put my machinery stuff in it, so I want to set up a machinery shop out the back with the lathe, the drill press light, so maybe it'll be like drill bits and parts for the lathe, and just keep things in order.
Yep.
It'd be really nice.
Keep it organised.
That's it. So anyway, we're talking about Liberty today, and you have a Liberty too, don't you?
Not anymore.
What?
Yeah, sold it out back now.
Okay.
Not part of the club anymore.
Well, that's the end of that video. We'll see you later. Well, it's still the family. It's basically a jacked up thing. So, yeah, that's cool. But they were a good card. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Congrats. No, it's awesome. So Bertie completely understands the Subaru wagon family thing. They're good, and we're going to chuck these in the back of the wagon because that's what wagons are for, man.
Yep.
It's good. All right, we'll go do that now. Right, we got post some Nugget Project orders, and then we'll go home and unload that. Alrighty, gonna do a quick stop and go and post some Nugget Project orders. We got some brake ducts, gauge pods, internal cabin vent. It's a low driveway. This car is low too, by the way, as standard. And also a bunch of vinyl, which is cool for our friend Ken from Street Machine. He's going drifting, so he needed a little sticker kit for racing. And one of the blokes over in WA, who's a legend, he's doing a Ford versus Ferrari themed race. So we've got he and his teammates' names in the Ferrari font, which is very cool. So that's pretty rad. So we're sending them off tonight, and then we'll go home and unload this, and then talk about brakes. Okay, so it's pretty obvious I like a Japanese car and I love a touring wagon. And yes, there are some amazing touring wagons out there like Audi RS6s and E30 wagons and all sorts of fun things like that. But for something under 15 grand that looks this good, drives that well, is that comfy, that well appointed, and just does everything, and all-wheel drive too, there's not much out there. And I love this thing as a daily. It's fantastic. And because I love it so much, I want to give it a bit of a birthday. So I reached out to our friends at Protex. They make brakes and drive shafts and seals and all sorts of stuff. And I said, look, my Liberty needs a bit of a love. What can you do? And they've sent me over a little brake kit. So new discs, new pads, and all that sort of stuff to rejuvenate this car, because look, it doesn't get much love. It lives outside. It's doing all these trips to shoots all over the place for drag challenge and driving to Adelaide for the Enduro and all that sort of stuff, and obviously daily duties to work. So it's nice to give it a little bit of love. So anyway, let's go and have a look and see what Protex have sent us. Oh, Jesus. Okay, we'll use the tool chest that Bertie just gave us as a bench. So what they've given us is the Protex Ultra discs. So these are their Ultra rotors. They're not, their next model up are the ones that are, slotted and grooved, and they don't make them for the Liberty, unfortunately. But these are their sort of high-end performance discs, and I'm very excited to try these on the car. They've also given us some of these Ultra pads. So these are the Ultra ceramics, very cool pads, and I'm very excited to try them in the car. This car has phenomenal brakes already, and with this in there, I think it'll be really good. So new pads, new discs, all around on all four wheels, and then I went and got some fresh brake fluid so we can get the brakes to bleed. So let's get stuck into it. So I've discovered a problem with this new shed. It's not big enough for a long car like this. So the nose is just in there, but I don't have enough room to work on the back of the car here. I really need to get rid of this 3D printer and move that somewhere else, and I need this hole in this wall, so it just gives us more room. Okay, I'm not going to show you how to do all these brakes because there's a million videos on YouTube on how to do this, but the basics of it on this wheel is you just got to take the wheel off. The disc will just slide off on this car. Sometimes they have a little lock nut there, or lock bolt I should say. To get this caliper off, it is just one bolt there, looks like a 12 mil, and then there'll be the main bolts for the bracket, which on this will probably be a 14 or a 17 mil. Take them off, disc will slide off, We change disc, new pads in. We just need to push that piston back. So anyway, let's get them off and we'll show you how to do that. Something you should do when you take your caliper off, don't let your caliper hang by the brake line. So it's not good for it. Get a cable tie, either a long one, a couple of short ones like I've got here. Put the caliper off and tie it up to your spring, and that'll stop any strain in your brake line. Alrighty, there's our bracket. Get off. Now we can take our disc off. How hot are you? Not too hot. Oh yeah. There we go. Yeah, she's pretty grooved and pretty warped. Let's have a look at our new one. Protex Ultra. Very exciting. Let's open them up and have a look. Ooh. Hell yeah. Look at that bad boy. Sick. Oh man, that is very cool. Let's put that on. Look at that. Now you don't actually need to wipe or clean these down because they come pre-done, but I just put greasy hands all over them, so I will give it a wipe down. But that is very pretty. Okay, once again, these are the Protex. These are the Ultra Ceramic Plus brake pads, which is pretty awesome. Probably a little overkill for this car, to be honest, considering its daily duties. Maybe I have to go and take it in the hills a bit more. There we go. Have a look, make sure they're the right ones, which they are. Of course they are. Perfect, look at those. So we'll cut them open, stick them in. So on these, you can see this pad here had the little nubby thing here, and this one doesn't. This other new pad does, and you can see there, that was the inside one where the caliper pistons touched. So we know the one with the nubby bit is the one that's going to go in the back. Okay, bit of a wiggle putting the pads in, it's just all a little bit tight because it's new, but they're in. The next thing we want to do is just make sure that our floating pins are working properly. Let me just grab you there. See these pins here, we just need to make sure that they are floating properly, and these feel really good. I did service them not long ago. They do come with a bit of grease here, which you can use for that, but as I said, I did them not long ago, so I'm happy with those. Next thing we need to do is push the pistons back on the caliper. So we'll open up the reservoir in the engine bay, we'll get an old pad, and we'll grab a G-clamp and push them back. Alright, here's our brake reservoir. We'll just loosen the cap on that, just put a rag around it to catch any brake fluid that spews out that side, and push our reservoir back. Now the reason we have to do this obviously is because as your brakes wear, that piston comes in further and further and further, and then when you put chunky pads back in, you've got to make that gap bigger. Obviously. So, cut our caliper free, twist it up in here, and we get one of our old pads, plug him in there, and use our G-clamp. So slowly, very slowly, push that back out. Perfect. Let's get our bolts back in. Perfect. Now we're going to remember to pump the brakes back up, and we will have a bedding in process with these, which probably has some instructions somewhere for that. Usually it's going up to about 40k an hour, slow right down but don't stop. Then about let them cool down for a bit, 60k an hour, slow down but don't stop, 80k an hour, slow down, and just heat cycling them without cooking them. It's pretty much the crux of it. All right, wheel back on, go do the other side. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you with every wheel, you get the idea. So with the magic of editing, I'm done. And a lot dirtier for it. Brakes are filthy things. But each wheel has brand new discs, brand new pads. It all went together nicely. Obviously we did that one together. And this side, there's the old discs. They're going to go to the metal recyclers. All good to go. So I've torqued the wheels down and I'll go and take it for a drive, although it might not be today because I got to clean up and go and pick the kids up from daycare. Probably shouldn't be testing brakes. I'll take the wife's car for that one. But that's our Subi now, all good and happy. And a couple of other little things I want to do to her. Like I've got a slight power steering pump weep, which they're notorious for. It is literally just an O-ring, just got to get hold of it and do that. And I want to start pulling out a few of the little dents in the side. It was owned by a mum who used to take it shopping and stuff and got a few dings, so I want to clean them up. There's a few other things to the car, but it's a freaking awesome daily and I'm stoked it got a video on the Nugget Project because it deserves it. It's a great car. Cool. Now, one more thing. Alrighty guys, so thanks to our friends at Protex, we have this absolutely rad little RC car to give away. It is super fun. I've been bringing it around. I promise I haven't broken it. I've just been testing it. But I want one of you guys to win this. So to enter, firstly, you have to be subscribed to Nugget Project. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, it doesn't count. Secondly, write in the comment section below what your dream car build would be. So this could be a race car, street car, whatever. So think about it. You know, what you want to build, what engine you want in it, what gearbox, where the engine is, just whatever your wildest dreams are for what you'd like to build. I know I've got a bit of a list, so I'd like to hear what yours are. After that, once I've got all the answers, I'm going to stick them all in a spreadsheet and I'm going to do a random number generator and pick one of you guys out and then I will send you this car. Unfortunately, only for people in Australia. I really don't want to send this thing overseas. So yeah, if you're in Australia, you subscribe and you do a decent comment, I'll put you in the draw to win this thing. I think I'm going to draw in about 2 weeks. Check the comment section below and I'll tell you when I'm going to draw it. And I'll do a little video for drawing it. That would be really cool. But yes, really good fun. And thank you to our friends at Protex. I have Protex parts all through the XL, all through my Liberty. I think I've even got some in my wife's Volvo. So they are really good parts. And if you need any parts for your car, jump on the Protex website, put in your car details and it lists everything they do for cars and it's way cheaper and just as good quality as going to a dealer to go and get OEM parts. So check out Protex and thank you very much for giving us this rad car to give away.